All right, let's talk about something so simple you probably never even think about it. I'm talking about a plain old metal box. But this box, it literally rewired our entire planet. And now the global system built on top of that box is, well, it's breaking. So, have you ever wondered why your package is delayed in 2026? Yeah, it's super frustrating, right? But here's the thing, the reason your stuff is stuck isn't just some simple little hiccup. It's actually a symptom of a way bigger, much more complicated problem, one that's shaking the very foundations of our global economy.
You know, the world's shipping lanes are caught in what experts are calling a perfect storm. It's this messy combination of geopolitical conflicts, crazy weather, and even cyber attacks. And because of all this chaos, these massive container ships are getting rerouted, they're getting delayed, and then they all show up at the port at the exact same time. It's a phenomenon called vessel bunching, and it's basically creating a traffic jam on a planetary scale. But to really get why this is such a huge crisis, we got to go back to the beginning. So let's just rewind the clock for a minute. Way before all the chaos of 2026, there was a revolution. And like a lot of revolutions, it all started with one guy and one incredibly simple idea. Okay, so picture this. Before the 1950s, loading a ship was just organized chaos. You had longshoremen hauling every single thing piece by piece, sacks of coffee, barrels of whatever, crates of all different shapes and sizes. It was incredibly slow, super expensive, and yeah, stuff got broken or even stolen all the time. Now, watching all of this unfold was a trucker from North Carolina named Malcom McLean, and he just kept thinking to himself, man, there has got to be a better way to do this. And his idea, it was so simple, it was genius. He thought, what if you could just pre-pack everything into these huge, standardized steel boxes? Then you could just lift the whole box straight off a truck, stack it neatly on a ship, and then pop it onto another truck or a train at the other end without ever having to open it. So he bought this old oil tanker, renamed it the Ideal X, and in 1956, he proved it could work. And let me tell you, that one single trip from Newark to Houston, it changed everything. And to really wrap your head around just how big a deal this was, let's look at the numbers. Before Malcolm McLean's big idea, it cost almost $6, $5.86 to be exact, to load just 1 ton of cargo onto a ship. Okay, remember that number. Now, get this. With his new container system, that cost just plummeted, all the way down to 16 cents a ton. 16 cents. That's a drop of over 97%. It's insane. All of a sudden, the cost of moving things around the world, it practically disappeared. So the big takeaway here is that this wasn't just about saving some money. No way. The shipping container basically became the physical backbone of our modern global economy. It's what made these incredibly complex international supply chains possible. It's what fueled the rise of manufacturing in places like Asia and let companies build products with parts that came from a dozen different countries. And this chart, wow, it really tells the whole story, doesn't it? Just look at the growth of container trade from 1960 to 2020. See that curve? It doesn't just go up, it shoots for the moon. As containerization took off, global trade didn't just grow, it absolutely exploded. That simple box made the world feel a lot smaller and made the global economy way, way bigger. But all of that incredible efficiency also created a brand new kind of vulnerability. And that brings us right back to 2026, because that streamlined, super interconnected world that the container built, well, it's now facing a major reckoning as all these different crises are hitting this finely tuned system all at the same time. This table right here gives us a really clear snapshot of the chaos. And it's not just one problem, right? It's like this tangled web of interlocking threats that are all hitting the system at once. You can see we're dealing with geopolitical stuff like the Red Sea crisis, climate change messing with waterways, a huge spike in cyber attacks, constant labor disputes, and brand new environmental rules. I mean, any one of these would be a massive challenge by itself, but all of them together, that's the perfect storm. So let's break that down a bit. First off, the physical world itself is just getting harder and more dangerous to move through. You've got the attacks in the Red Sea forcing ships to take these long, expensive detours all the way around Africa. Then you've got Russian GPS jamming in the Baltic, which is creating these scary ghost ship situations in a sea lane that handles 15% of all global cargo. And on top of that, you have things like extreme weather. Persistent droughts are lowering water levels in the Panama Canal, creating a massive traffic jam for trade.
And then you've got the digital threat, which is growing at a frankly terrifying rate. The logistics industry, something we think of as all about trucks and ships, has become a prime target for hackers. I mean, look at this chart. Between 2021 and 2025, cyber attacks on the industry shot up by a staggering 965%. That's not just an increase, that's an explosion. And the attacks are getting way smarter, way more ambitious. Hackers aren't just trying to hit a single shipping company anymore. Now they're targeting the shared digital platforms, the cloud systems that all the ports, the carriers, and the trucking companies rely on. Think about that. A single successful hack on that shared infrastructure could now bring entire supply chains to a grinding halt. And if all that wasn't enough, the industry is also facing this huge regulatory shift, all aimed at fighting climate change. The European Union, in particular, is getting really serious about shipping emissions. You've got two major new rules. The first is the Emissions Trading System, or ETS, which basically makes companies pay for their carbon pollution. The second is Fuel EU Maritime, which forces them to use cleaner and, more expensive fuels. Now, it's a necessary change for the planet, for sure. But in the short term, it's just another layer of cost and complexity piled onto an already stressed-out system. And finally, there's this really human conflict brewing right on the docks. As ports are trying to automate their operations, to handle bigger ships and be more efficient, they are running headfirst into a wall of resistance from organized labor, from workers who are terrified of losing their livelihoods. And this isn't just some local disagreement. Union leaders from over 60 countries have actually formed a global alliance to fight what they call job-destroying automation. And their leader, Harold Daggett from the International Longshoremen's Association, he has drawn a very clear line in the sand with this threat, a global strike that could last for weeks. So what you have is this fundamental standoff. It's a clash of two very different futures. On one side, you've got the port operators who see automation as absolutely critical to stay competitive and just to handle the sheer size of modern ships. And on the other side, you have the unions, fighting tooth and nail to protect jobs and make sure their members still have a place in this increasingly high-tech industry. It is a really high-stakes conflict with no easy answers, and it's just another huge source of potential disruption. So when you add it all up, the geopolitics, the climate, the cyber threats, and the labor conflicts, they're all converging at once, and they're forcing a complete rethink of that elegant, simple system that Malcom McLean created. The era of predictable, cheap, and almost invisible global shipping, that era is over. And this is the crucial point, right? The central irony of this whole story. The very things that made containerization so revolutionary, its standardization and its massive scale, have now become its greatest vulnerabilities, its Achilles heel. Standardization created incredible efficiency, but now it means a problem at one port can cause a domino effect that ripples through the entire system. And the sheer scale of it all means that when things go wrong, they go wrong in a very, very big way. So, in response to this new chaotic reality, the industry is scrambling to adapt. Companies are using AI to try and predict disruptions before they even happen. They're developing smart containers with sensors so you can track them in real time. And they're diversifying their supply chains, trying to reduce their reliance on any one single country or shipping route. The new name of the game isn't just efficiency anymore, it's resilience. Which leaves us with a really fundamental question. That simple box created our incredibly complex, interconnected world. We've built our entire global economy on the assumption that it will just always work, humming along perfectly in the background. But what happens now that it doesn't? Can our world even function when the box is broken?
Don't forget to like and subscribe for more How Meets History.